My name is Ngozi Chukwu. I'm a reporter at TechCabal, and you are welcome to our International Women's Day podcast. TechCabal is a Pan-African publication that covers tech and business news in Africa. And with me here are wonderful female founders in Nigeria's tech ecosystem. I want you to sit back and just chill with us while we have this discussion. And I'll let them introduce themselves now. Hi.
Hi, my name is Omowumi Omidiji. I'm the founder and CEO of Shopfall. We are a B2B marketplace for the diaspora to connect to African vendors and buy African products.
Nice to meet you.
And your?
My name is Ifeoma Nwobu. I'm co-founder and COO at SendStack. At SendStack, we simplify and automate logistics processes for businesses to make their operations a lot more smooth and easy for them and their customers and their teams as well.
Hi, I'm Yanmo. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Bamboo. And Bamboo is an investment platform that allows Africans, so people like you, to invest and buy stocks listed in the US stock market and invest in other dollar-denominated products.
We are going to discuss all things business in tech, funding, operations, what they've been through last year. But before we get to all that, we should do some icebreakers because before the serious questions, I'm going to ask you some questions. Just feel free, don't feel shy, be honest. I'm going to start with Yamo. If you could choose superpowers, between superpowers, to be invisible or to be able to fly, what would you choose?
Fly, obviously.
Fly.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Fly. So you save money on all those Uber trips. Had come
Holidays, but yes.
holiday.
Yes, I definitely be able to fly. I love
Okay.
traveling.
I'm gonna ask you, Ifeoma, right? If when you retire, what would you be doing with your time?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me the other one too. Because I wanted to say I want to be invisible.
Yeah.
So that I can also I can get into a plane and they won't know.
Same thing
I can
I was
get into a
thinking,
bus.
exactly.
They won't know, they won't see
That would be
me.
criminal though.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no, I
that's why I
mean,
have
no, but they don't
superpower.
know you, they don't know you're
But then
there,
will you
so-
be standing for the whole flight?
No, no,
Like, how will you sit down?
Yeah, this is
Yeah, how would you sit down?
I'll be transparent. Trust me. Nobody
So
will.
somebody will lap you.
Or I'll be or I'll be at the pilot cabin.
By the way.
Or there's always one extra
Yeah,
seat on
there's
the
always
plane.
one extra
So,
seat, really.
but
Okay.
Fair.
when I retire, I think I want to be a music producer.
That's interesting.
I want to produce
Really?
music. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. What's your favorite TV show?
There's one series, okay, so my best friend loves K-pop, Korean movies, so
Yeah.
she introduced me to one series called Reborn Rich. So I'm seeing that right now. Yeah.
And you like it?
It's quite interesting. There's a lot about business actually. So yeah.
Oh, she has to bring business in.
No. But yeah, I actually love Ratchet TV.
I want to ask, in one word, describe 2023 in one word?
A lot happened last year. And we saw, of course, in the ecosystem, one news or the other every other day. But even more personally, because we started last year, it was quite interesting because it felt like we were fighting fires every day. But that's the life, really, if you think about it. But things that you won't see happen in terms of even regulations, although regulations, they affect us, you just never know what's going to happen next. And I think being founders, I think it's very dysfunctional. You choose this life willingly, and you just ask yourself every day, I actually woke up and I said I would do this, right? So it was interesting. Yeah, we overcame a number of things as a startup in every sense of it. But yeah, that's it. It's deeper than that, but right now I think that's all I have to say.
Interesting,
Yeah.
right?
Interesting.
How about you, Yamo?
Quick, fast, whatever.
It was
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah, I blinked and it was December.
It was quick?
Very, very.
Had a good year.
Wow.
Nothing, just every smart things were happening. You were just oh, the year was now all of a sudden over.
2023 was real.
It was real.
It was the realest year of my life, and I just want to tell everybody: if you passed through 2023, congratulations to you and me and all of us. We made it. We did it. It was real. I feel like this is life. I feel like I'm a proper adults now. Like, but we're talking about like economy.
It was
there was like fuel scarcity, no lights, no cash,
Yeah.
election. I'm an adult.
Exactly.
Like, I went to vote. So
Oh, wow.
no, for real, it was real.
So since you mentioned all these things that happened, fuel scarcity, inflation, like it kept going up and up and up and up and up. And also like with the wars happening, investors kept, became. So like, how did all these things affect growth in your startup and also in like what you saw happening to your peers?
So I think it just made us focus on the essentials, because as a startup or like a startup, there are tendencies to want to do cool things, maybe because of some feedback you've gotten or people you've interacted with. But it just made us like ask ourselves every single day, what is the most important thing? It is getting packages delivered from point A to B, or like no matter how that looks like, even if it's for like a different customer segment, for example, just doing the most important things that are providing value to people, like immediate value. We try to do that by opening up like our product and our service to like a different customer base. So we had seen that the impact of everything that was happening was a lot for the smaller like SMEs and like businesses. So there were a lot more like there was a lot more like re-strategizing to reach bigger businesses. So the businesses that would serve other businesses. We pivoted into like a more sales-led organization than marketing-led. Not that those two things can coexist, but because of everything happening, there was just that need to know where we were putting most of our resources into. And marketing is quite expensive, at least if you want to do it really well. So we just, like did that mini pivot into like being more sales-driven rather than marketing and spending money on like digital ads in dollars and all of that.
I'm going to come back to you so you can explore that sales-driven versus marketing-driven thing. But I want to ask you, because it's like you're in e-commerce, right? And you were like, oh, that, you saw regulations, changing a lot for people outside your sphere. So like, I want to ask you, what effects in real life did you see, those changes having on these startups, that you observed?
I would say it was majorly the regulations. I can't even remember one of them right now, but a lot was fintech. It's always fintech, really, if you think about it. It's always fintech, and that's where like I'm like, guys, my respect for you guys is another level, because I feel like because you never really know what's going to happen, and when it does, you just have to act fast. You literally, I feel, how people gamble with their legal, and I have a legal experience. I mean, I did legal for 10 years, and you see it that people are like, we don't need lawyers. Fintech people cannot afford not to have a league of lawyers, because when those things happen, because you have to act fast, you have to get in front of it. If not, if you can't do that, just try to catch up, because your customers don't want to know what really, it's not their business, like for them, right? But for you, it's like, how do we make it work? How do we work with the government in a way that, we're not on the other side where we're being not targeted, but more like you're facing penalty, but you're also having to deal with your customers. So it's like at different points or different sets of people or stakeholders involved. And also seeing how last year was with like, I don't know whether you touched on inflation, but with that as well, I think, so imagine you promising your investors, you do times maybe $10 million for the year, and you're making revenue in Naira, and it's in Naira going that, and you're trying to like, also now, calculate it in dollars, and it's just not making sense. You're putting a lot of work. But also I feel like, I guess I'll be Nigerian now and say we'll find a way. So we'll power through.
I feel like asking you, like, what ways did you power through, seeing that you're into exports? And last year was a pretty busy year for, people who move things out of and in Nigeria, right? With the rates changing so quickly, also with these laws that the government is trying to encourage local production of stuff. So like, how did you power through all these changes as a business, you personally?
I think it worked for us because we've always been we're pro-African. We're always like, okay, we're doing a whole lot that I feel. Last year when I met vendors, like people doing amazing things, exportable things, meeting these people was quite interesting, and it gave us hope that we have a whole lot, and really I believe this would really help even our global trade, because as we stand, we're like 3%.
Yeah.
And now knowing that a lot of people are moving, which is our entry points really, because there's a lot of migration. We also know that a lot of these ethno-African stores and African restaurants, because we started with food, a lot of them have to cater to more people. And part of the issue is demand is higher than supply. So for us, it was like, okay, let's make this work. And yeah, it's been in our favor, if I'm being honest. But the only issue we've had is cross-border payments. That was a major problem, because imagine we initially started, because we're in private beta and we started with B2C. Imagine you getting funds, and of course your funding, your payments cannot come in until T+7 business days. That's long for a trading. Do you understand? It's long. So of course we found a way around it, not regulatory, because regulations are regulations. It goes back to regulatory impacts, because it was like the major two payment processing platforms that we were using. We knew that it was a regulatory thing, so there was nothing we could do about it. But of course, there are other ways where there were other ways we could make it happen. Of course, knowing that we can just deal directly with them, with our subsidiary and all of that. So that kind of helped. Yeah.
So you figured out a way to work things out.
You kind of have to. I don't know if you get what I mean. Yeah. You always have to. So it's like when you start this, you always have a burning desire to wake up and make the next day. Payments and logistics. Yeah. You can't do without, and that I feel those two, you really, no economy will survive without them. But for us, again, cross-border, it's a bit more complex, regulations again. So really my hope in that aspect is it will get better, hopefully.
I want to ask Yanmo. Hi. It was so quick for you, and you're a fintech.
What was quick?
You said last year was quick.
So 2023?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But you're a fintech. I feel like it might have felt. I feel like if I'm going through a lot of like wahala in my life, time moves slower. But for you, it was quick. How?
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay. No, time doesn't move slow enough. Also, like we did 2021, so like.
Oh, what happened then?
2023 was like nothing. That's so shocking. You guys feel like 2023 was a crazy regulatory year?
Because there was a lot of news about fintech, but it was like fintechs shutting down, maybe like fintech founders taking money or something like that. That was what a lot of the news from fintech was, at least from my point of view.
But like the economy didn't do great. Yeah. Obviously.
And what did that mean for your company, like the service you provide to people? Because we know that, like so basically, like, how did it affect how your customers, you know?
So for us, it's a mixed bag, right? So we have people who come onto Bamboo to hedge against devaluation. So when people are coming to Bamboo and they're trying to, buy US stocks or invest in a US fixed return product. So on like a Naira basis, just based on devaluation, Bamboo users are up. Right, because we have people who, like, if I look at my own first bunch of like investments in Bamboo, the bulk of my money was like when Naira was 360. So it doesn't even matter if my stock went down, I've made money in Naira terms. So there's that. So we have a lot of that type of activity where people are coming in trying to hedge, but you can't run away from the fact that you need more Naira to invest in dollars, right? And so people are having to put in. So you might be growing in Naira terms, but people are still having to get more to invest. Also, investing at the end of the day is something you do when you can eat. So if the economy is, going badly, so that obviously affects how people can. Because when I think of Bamboo and I think of like the top two reasons people who come on Bamboo don't necessarily convert, it's I don't know what to buy and I don't have money. And if the number of people who are saying I don't have money is starting to increase, we start to see that. But we see a lot more people are coming in, because what you also see on the flip side is people that felt like they didn't have money before, they're like, okay, this more money I have, let me try and invest in dollars, let me try and save it, let me try and grow it so that. And then we've seen more people using Bamboo to invest towards like specific goals. and like specific targets. So we put because we have like a fixed return product, so that okay, if you don't want stock market risk, I can be like, I'm going to school in September. I don't know what's going to happen to Naira, but I'm going to keep on investing, and at least I know I'm going to have this much dollars for school. I'm paying for something. So it's been a mix for us, but you know, you can't run away from the fact that if you're doing any business right now serving Nigerians, people just have less money to spend on everything.
Thank you for sharing that, Yanmo. You also mentioned a very important thing, you know, just a few minutes ago about how last year most of the news was pretty much founders not getting funding or, you know, shutting down, people shutting down their businesses because they couldn't get funding or for other reasons. Yeah. So I feel like, how did you feel about, you know, these reports as a founder? Like, how did they make you feel?
For me, there's too much bad news everywhere and every day, and personally, and even what that's myself and my co-founder, try to transfer to the team is a feeling of hope. So how do I feel? I don't know. I wish everyone the sincere and honest best. But for us, we just genuinely focus on, like I mentioned earlier, what is the most essential thing that needs to be done. I think that in terms of funding, one thing we also started to focus on is what is the simplest way to get customers to pay, because as tech-driven or tech-based startups, there is that temptation to overcomplicate things. But something we we believe in, I personally believe in, is that we are first of all a logistics business, maximizing technology to scale like our service. We are not a tech company in logistics. We started out doing like these things from WhatsApp. How we build or develop our products is we reverse engineer things. We are never just sitting down thinking, okay, this feature is so cool, let's do it. We first of all do things manually, and then now add the PM to those groups or like those places where those manual activities are happening. Take notes, be looking at what is happening so that you can know how to translate this into an app. But before it is happening on the app, we are doing it, right? So I think for us, it is hard, like Yanmo said, when people have less spending power, it's hard to convince them. But for us, it's really about what's the simplest way to provide value and get money from these customers. For me personally, I still think the best form of funding is revenue from your customers. And even though it eventually takes a while for things to balance out, I've never had the perspective that if a VC doesn't give me money, it means that that's the only reason my business will fail. How do I feel? Which was the question. I feel hopeful. Really, I try to shield myself from as much bad news because you can't really wake up every day with those thoughts, you know, as the forefront in your mind. Otherwise, you might as well just go and get a job that is paying you in dollars and just rest. Exactly.
It's important that we know that revenue is very important. Like, it's very crucial. Relying solely on you know, raising money. Well, it depends on your type of business. Some businesses are heavy on technology infrastructure, right? Yeah. But like she said, there's some businesses that are business first and technology enables. I mean, when we're talking about technology, we're talking about ease, automation, efficiency, you know, speed. And that's what's helping businesses do. But you can't focus solely on that. Of course, because you've seen how it's doing and maybe you want to scale, yes. But even when these investors want to see like you've done something, because they know the ones that actually very, like you can't do anything without funding. So I think there has to be a mindset shift as well in terms of that. I mean, it's great to raise money, obviously.
We need money. So
Yeah.
But like,
I actually need money.
So that it's not something like that. But it's a chain. Like it's a chain. Yeah. Investors, I like to see them as like partners and customers because they need that cash flow. They need the money to go because they are also raising funds from somewhere as well. So they need to disburse, but they will only disburse to people who they've seen are making significant amount of progress, and they would even now come to you and want to like. But once as a founder, if you find yourself always chasing VCs, always, maybe not when you're starting out, but maybe like pre-seed, seed, series A, you're the one always chasing, then there might be something. That's just me though, and I always put that caveat that that's just me, but please, I need money. So that's not.
I think on the funding thing, the easiest way I always say it is that it's just important as a founder to remember that equity is expensive money.
Yeah.
And as a human being, you want to start from the cheapest. Revenue is
Exactly.
the cheapest source of money.
Yep.
And then, debt might be cheaper, but can you pay the interest?
Yeah.
So equity is expensive money. So it's just worth being cognizant of the fact that
Yeah.
every time you're getting equity, you're getting expensive money, and it's worth noting whether there's cheaper ways to get money.
Yeah.
And with the way the economy has gone globally, everyone is now focused on first principles, which is even if you need cash, how efficient have you been with that cash? So you see it even when you speak to international VCs that are disbursing larger amounts of cash, how efficient have you been? When you're thinking about marketing, what is your ROI? So I think that's the thing that's important. As founders, I do think it's also important to recognize that the ecosystem is smaller and it's at much earlier stages, so things are more representative. In the same way, it's annoying as a woman to go into a room and do something and it's like, all women do this, but it's also because there's so few women in the room that you become so it's just, where we are today in our ecosystem. But it is what it is.
I want to ask you, Yanmo, can you guess why it is that, it's as if our culture is not particularly generous to people that fail, and why we ourselves are not generous to ourselves, like when we fail, like not kind enough to ourselves, like we're too hard on ourselves, like when we fail?
I think it depends. That's an interesting question. I think it's more cultural, if you asked me. But I mean, what do I know? Is the culture, it's like I think it's a cultural thing, right? So like, when we say other founders are more generous, at the end of the day, when people talk about tech, you're essentially talking about Silicon Valley bro culture, which is like American white male general culture, and obviously that's expanded. And so there's a whole part of like really deep, and actually if I go back a bit, when you think about like type of tech that they were doing initially, it was like tech, like it was like the tech where like what they were doing was like groundbreaking, like people were doing like actually crazy things, and the only way you were able to actually accomplish these crazy things was to fail, and then eventually it worked. And so they've already like been incubated in that idea that this startup is like a bunch of experiments and one works and one blows and it goes, versus culturally, I don't think we're necessarily, if you think about, we're talking about like Nigeria, I guess right now, we're not necessarily a culture of failure, of like thinking about failure in that way, and generally like we're a culture of first position, and if you come second, the person that came first, they have two heads. So like just the way our culture is generally is not and I think that's something that should change, because it's not a culture that fosters innovation, because we talk about like schools today where if you don't write the answer in the exact same way the teacher wrote the answer, you've gotten it wrong. It's not, we don't encourage like different modes of thinking, different modes of expression, and it's through doing that you innovate, and you need to fail a lot of times to innovate. But I think we're getting better. Most founders recognize failure. The more like this type of culture, the more we keep doing things that are innovative, the more we keep changing and progressing, the more we will fail, and the more we will get up from failing, and the more we will be able to express constantly that you fail but you go again.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to note that like failure is not always as like permanent as it sounds. Like, okay, you failed. I don't feel like there's any human being like, okay, no, let me rephrase. I don't feel like there's any like founder, for example, who has a level of exposure that will fail at one thing and then just stop. You either like go again, or you get like a good job, and you continue and you start to excel at that. So I think it's a part of the process. And I think that even for us generally as founders, we might also want to be conscious of that exaggerated sense of competition. I'm so big on like collaborating with businesses who like, because we're at the end of the day, we're all chasing the same people. We're all marketing to the same people. There are not that many like big, properly established businesses that can sustain the entire like economy. So we're all either like chasing the same SMEs or the same large like corporations, trying to serve them in different ways. So yeah, and that's why I'm very excited to see like some news of like people, companies merging or like acquisitions.
Those are really cool.
Like in the long run, that's really where like we would all like be headed. So yeah.
All of you, by the way, I want to ask you as founders, do you think that AI will take people's jobs? And that was actually a very, very big thing we discussed last year. So do you feel like AI, will you replace your employees with AI?
Of course not. Like, even as a human being, first of all, what problems are we trying to solve? More jobs for people. If we start giving AI a job, the way they will rob everybody in this country. But I feel like AI would amplify work that human beings are doing. I know that there are very ambitious tech founders like the Elon Musks that want to take over the world, like Pinky and the Brain. But if you really care about people,
Like Pinky and the Brain. I'm saying with a smile, like Pinky and the Brain.
I think at the heart of it is what is your value? Like, what do you really care about? I care about people a lot, not even in an ostentatious way, but because I know that I can't do the work myself.
Yeah.
I
think Yanmo has a different point of view, which is laughing.
I can't do
the work myself, like, for real. But you really can't do. If you want to like really grow and like you have to trust people at some point to be able to take over and get things done. So in terms of AI, I'm excited and happy to see the possibilities from there. But even now, for example, when we're going through maybe job applications and I see you put chat GPT response, I'm already giving side eye to that application because there's no heart to it. Like even the paid version, like there's no heart, like behind all these things. So I'm excited and curious because I think that's usually my disposition towards things. Just be curious to see how things work. Never say never. But I think fundamentally, imagine the bus drivers, the delivery riders, like those people have families and kids, man, that they need to take care of. So basically, we call AI delivery, all the business. So I mean, I think it's always like, as with everything else, finding a good balance. How can AI come in?
Yeah.
How can people still be there? And I think it's also like something for people, professionals, to just take note of, like just find more ways to become even more essential to whatever company you're working at.
I feel like you might have a different take on this.
Like AI is popping right now, I'm not gonna lie, but I can't pretend like I'm always very careful. I'm honest about the fact that I know it's interesting, but I haven't done enough reading on the topic to really think I have any like intelligent things to add to the conversation of AI today. Like, is AI going to take people's jobs? Probably, because it gets things done quicker. But do I think it's going to affect tech jobs in Nigeria? Maybe down the line. But like when Nigeria say labor is currently cheap, we're already like currently the source of hiring for like lower, companies that are trying to like reduce labor costs, etc. Maybe, Nigerian engineers, sometimes when I think about it, we're probably like where India was like, let's say 10, 20 years ago with like customer service centers where you'd be, so there's still like a lot of room right now. So maybe, teams get smaller. So like she used copywriting as an example. Maybe instead of 5 copywriters, now you need 2 because you just need like people to edit ChatGPT or Gemini responses or something. But I'm gonna be honest and say I don't know. I haven't done enough like reading to have intelligent insights for that.
I was going to say that I actually think there's a balance. Yeah, people, some parts will lose their jobs because really some things are quite manual and it just makes it easy. But some of the things will be easier with AI. I mean, the whole point is they're meant to be human-like, but they won't be humans because there's some issues that will happen that it takes a lot of emotional intelligence to handle. And that area, of course, the human factor is very important. But also, I feel with a lot of businesses, I mean, there are even companies, even Nigeria, presently doing amazing things to just make your job, so basically your process. There's a company, Zero Complex. They're Zero Complex AI. They make it easy for you, like whatever process you have, they have a plug and play, no code, just to automate your process. Do you understand? Even pharmacy prescriptions, like you know them, Pharmacy Africa.
Yeah.
So I've read an article. They have something called Remy AI, basically to make it easier for providers to give prescriptions. I feel like we already know how it is healthcare in Nigeria. Even with HMO or even the best hospitals, you still get some weird things going on. If it can be easier, if it can be faster, absolutely. And people are coming up with brilliant things because ordinarily in this part of the world, a lot of things are very manual, but the people are not as manual. Let's be real. And that's why we complain about a lot of things that, oh yeah, it's not moving forward. So that's where upskilling also comes in to be sure that, okay, you know what, okay, the world is moving in that direction.
Yeah.
How do I go about, how do I walk around or how do I work with this? Because it can be complementary, but not necessarily take out like people.
So I think one thing I'm just going to add, and it's not for us, but just for like anyone applying for a job out there, I'm not even joking, sorry, because it's a PSA, because I was just going through this yesterday. We all have ChatGPT. All the candidates have ChatGPT. I know the ChatGPT answer.
Yeah.
All the candidates also know the ChatGPT answer. They also have copy and paste. Use ChatGPT, but I beg of you to at least edit it, please. Because that thing is driving me.
And sometimes,
they're copy and pasting the exact same thing with the bullet. Like, I use ChatGPT almost every day, so I'm not the one to say don't. Just edit it because just remember that I have it and all the other candidates have it too.
Let's talk about outside Nigeria, right? So like, which non-Nigerian startups do you guys?
I mean, I think that there are quite a number in Kenya, Rwanda, Ghana. Okay, so there's a similar one to what we're doing, Letter. I think they're in Kenya. And I think they've done like good work, just like with the logistics or like streamlining those like processes for like using technology as well. There's also Jetstream.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've heard of Jet, but I think they're in Ghana.
Yes.
So I think I would say if I had to mention like anyone's like at least within the same industries, I would say those two, like definitely.
I'll say the same as well for e-commerce as well. I'll say Maitindi, they're in Morocco. They're doing fantastic work, working with artisans, local artisans, and like getting art, spices, like a lot of gourmet, that people in the diaspora don't really get. So they're doing a lot of, this. That's the only one that comes to mind right now.
I mean, I think generally because I do fintech, there's like, you guys know fintechs? Like there's so many fintechs. But I know like this is like such like a basic answer, but I'm obsessed with M-Pesa in Kenya. Simply because I'm genuinely like think it's so cool when people build something that like a whole population uses. If you go to Kenya and you don't have M-Pesa, you're almost handicapped. And for me, that kind of stuff always inspires me because that's the kind of product you're trying to build. When she was saying don't build vitamins, like build tech products that become must-have, not like, you know, like the real product market fit. So yeah.
Right. I want to ask you guys, how do you think we can, ensure that Nigeria's tech ecosystem benefits more people? How can we make more inclusive technology that brings more people into certain spaces? Like you said, when your point has that thing that has given people chances to just have a business, curious business. So like, how do you think people can people like you can build more can promote inclusion and also build more inclusive solutions?
I would say it depends on the one like feedback maybe you've gotten with the first few people, because again there's that temptation to have 100 people, you're not serving them well, but you want to bring in 1,000 more people, and then that would just like lead to maybe you now disappointing a lot more people. So I think in terms of how it's always like getting feedback. So for example, there's like customers we've been talking to, and a big thing now has been, when there are deliveries happening maybe up north, there's usually no network there. How do you create like products that can still be functional? Like, okay, they've taken your package from maybe Lagos to Jos or somewhere up north. How do you design that product for it to still work there and not become redundant? Right? So those are questions now that we're trying to like figure out, like, okay, how would this work without network? How would this work without even a mobile phone? Because something that we saw with logistics is the requirement for maybe riders or drivers became them having access to mobile phones, which is why we saw companies like I think Keza now doing like mobile phone financing for businesses. So I think it's usually like just being very in touch with like customers, getting like enough feedback. Also, there's a level of empathy needed to build things that are inclusive. If you just don't care about people, you either be performative or you will not do it well. So for example, how do you build stuff for disabled people, people who have like hearing or seeing like defects, like of all forms really. So you just have to care. You can look at where you are today and say, okay, we can genuinely afford to pay more attention to this or that, and then have forecasts for what you would do when the company or as the company is growing.
Yeah. I had everyone quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're better because.
Do you guys have any more to add to what she said?
I mean, for me, not really. I think it starts with conversations, and the fact that we're even having a conversation. I mean, let's not stay too long on the conversation.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, for many years now, and I know in tech there's a lot more about funding and having more what's it called, institutions that pay more attention to female-led businesses. But I mean, also in terms of inclusion beyond gender now, like she said, like disability. But I also feel like some of these things are personal stories that if you haven't gone through it, you might not understand. So you might be curious. You can still find out to now help, tell the story through your product or what. I also fear that sometimes, especially in the gender aspect of things, a lot has happened and we're very grateful. But sometimes as well, we just don't want to be having the conversations too much, because even with that, you get a lot of train. We've done all the training, please. Can we do you understand? But it also means that beyond the training as well, you come correct. There is that. So it's not a thing of we're going to do this through bias. No, it's like you come correct. You're giving everything that you need to give, right? So yeah, I think that's it for me.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think you create more inclusive products by solving real problems.
Yeah.
And the bigger the market of people you solve the problem for, the more people are inside the pool. And so we need to talk to your users all the time. I think there's a big thing that happens where sometimes you're solving like the problem you think the user has, or you're solving this imaginary problem, or it's so easy to just use one experience to create a big problem and create like 50 features around one random complaint that someone made. We've done it so many times. But yeah, the more serious problems you solve, like, you were saying, the more value you add, the more inclusive your product is. It's not magic.
My last question for you guys is, not even the question, just say something, positive to the founders or employees in tech who are advice or just a word of encouragement. Like, what do you need someone to hear today?
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say like just be a person of integrity. I think that's like the biggest thing for me, because in business there's a lot of decisions that will need to be made, and I think over the course of this conversation I really focus a lot on values, even from AI to inclusion. I just like tied everything together, but just being a person that can be trusted. Even when we spoke about people failing earlier, I've seen founders who have failed and they've gotten money again from the same set of investors, because there was that trust. They knew that it was not because of what the money was used for example. It was because maybe it just didn't work out. So I think the biggest thing that I would tell myself is, on this journey, like, no distractions, just be a person of integrity. I think that's the most important thing for me, because I've also struggled a bit with seeing this in people, either showing up with work or like, maybe even people you partner with just acting kind of funny. And for me, that's just like a big no.
I get you. Yanmo, what do you have to say to the people?
The only thing I'll say is that where there's life, there's hope. So, regardless of what's going on, we go again tomorrow. Like, tomorrow is another day. If you're watching this in the morning, today is the day. And yeah, because I feel like we're at this place where every day you wake up and there's a story, there's bad news, something that happens to the economy, the dollar, naira is this, the dollar is that. And it's very, very easy to get bogged down in this like doomsday feeling.
Yeah.
And at least for me, that feeling is unhelpful because it makes me just want to sleep. So I'm not one told that feeling gingers. So maybe if you know if that feeling gingers you, good for you. But like hopelessness is not. It's like we're living, and we're here, and everybody can jackpot. Even if you're planning to jackpot, jackpotting is very expensive. So it's just going again. Like if you're a Nigerian and you've gotten to this point, then you already are so resilient. And it sucks that you have to continue to be so resilient because, sometimes it's soft life, but, here we are. And good luck. Learn as much as you can. Be a good person, or try your best to be a good person, and all the best.
Just to add to what both of them have said, because I feel like they've covered a lot.
Why is the voice low now?
Please now. Why are you coming for me now? No, but for real, like, it's hard. I think it looks beautiful on the outside. So while it is hard, you live for another day, like she said, because really it's all about fighting to survive till you actually conquer, if you ever conquer. But like, just keep showing up. Don't lose yourself to the struggle, like she said, because sometimes you want to be a good person, but because of the situations, you feel like, I think I have to go another way, things that are against your nature or your values. It's in times like that, really, you should choose your values. It's just hard, Sha.
Really try and pockets of joy, 15 minutes.
I was such happy people, really.
So aren't you happy we brought these ladies here to chat with you? We really hope you've enjoyed this podcast. And once again, it was brought to you by TechCabal. We are a Pan-African tech publication. We cover businesses across Africa, and keep reading us, okay? All right. Can we all say together?
Happy International Women's Day.